Welcome to Open for Business. Mapapanood nyo rin ang programang OFB sa Facebook at YouTube. Mag-like at mag-subscribe sa aming social media at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Samahan ninyo kaming tuklasin ang iba't ibang pamamaraan kung paano mapaunlad ang inyong negosyo. Aalamin din natin mula sa mga eksperto ang mga pangunahing trends at mga estratehiya kung paano natin mapapanatiling ang inyong negosyo. Maliit man o malaki ay maging laging open for business. Consider purchasing digital art online and receiving a special digital token that proves ownership of the artwork. This is how NFTs, or the non-fungible tokens, work. They are very valuable because they do not exist in the physical world. NFTs are now taking over the world of digital art and collectibles. It gives consumers complete control over their digital assets. Pero paano nga ba natin malalaman ang mga bago pa lang sa mga larangan ng NFT at crypto kung ano ang mga dapat isaalang-alang dito? Ano nga ba ang mapapakinabangan natin sa NFT digital art? Ano rin ang mga issue o kontrobersiyang konektado sa NFTs? Lahat ng yan ay babahagi sa atin ng CEO ng Bayani Chain na si Gelo Wong. All these in this episode of Open for Business. Come on board. Today we have Mr. Gelo Wong, the CEO of Bayani Chain. How are you, Gelo?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
Galing ka daw sa Baguio, Gelo. So
Yeah.
what did you do in Baguio? And I heard it's also part of this NFT awareness.
Yeah, so we went to Baguio to meet with the different local artists in Baguio. As we all know, they are very prominent in traditional artists in that space. And one of our goals is to onboard them into NFTs. Because again, there are a lot of benefits that they can get when getting into this space.
Okay. Gelo, we always talk about NFT, the non-fungible
Token.
token.
Yeah.
So what is NFT and why are people calling it one of the biggest scams in the cyber world?
Oh, okay. So let's talk about first what is the definition of non-fungible token. So from the word fungible, it means replaceable. Non-fungible means unique. So in short, it's a very complicated word that actually means a unique token. So it means it cannot be replaced, it cannot be duplicated, and it cannot be something that can be like stolen, right, or hackable, right? Because again, this serves as a proof of ownership to whoever owns that token, right? So that's what NFTs are. Why do people call it a scam? Because most people look at NFTs and they think, oh, I can make money here, right? It's an avenue for you to make so much money, or perhaps, just to gain whether big or small profits, right? But we need to understand that the tech behind it isn't necessarily a scam. I think most people call it a scam because, again, there are a lot of scammers taking advantage of this tech, and a lot of people also lose money along the way. But when we look closely into what NFTs are, and we look into the tech, right? The tech shows us what value it can bring. So again, from the word non-fungible token, right? This means that we can use this in different mediums, right? Not just, kasi right now, in the NFT space, what we think of art, entertainment, and games, right? But NFTs function like a contract also, like a smart contract, right? And these contracts are basically irreplaceable. It can't be changed, right? Like what we previously defined, right? And then when getting into the space, right, we can put this into different industries, such as land titles, business documents, business contracts, deed of sales.
Yeah. Before you proceed, Gelo, you mentioned 3 areas where what NFTs are. Like this could be art, this could be videos, and there's another one. It could be entertainment. And these are all replaceable. Like a photo can be replaceable. So
Right.
what aspect of irreplaceability is an NFT?
Yeah, so I think we need to go back to how NFTs were formed, right? We'll need to talk about blockchain and crypto, right? So blockchain is basically a digital ledger of transactions. So I'm sure you're quite familiar with that. It's being used today in both traditional and in various businesses, right? But then now we have crypto. So crypto utilizes blockchain tech, but it is decentralized, meaning there isn't any one entity holding the money or whatever assets are involved in the cryptocurrency and NFT space. So think of it this way, right? Let's say we have 10 people in one room, right? Traditionally, if there is a bank, right? Let's say I want to send money to you, right? So normally, for me to send money to you, I'd have to go through a medium. So for example, I have to go through a bank, then that bank sends the money to you, right? But in the cryptocurrency space, right, if we have 10 people in the room, in order for me to send money to you, all of them have to approve of the transaction. So on a grander scale of things, right, we have over 300 million crypto users. So each single user technically approves those transactions.
And you know and you don't know who these are, the
No.
ones who are approving. Unlike in a regular bank, you deal directly with the teller, with the bank manager.
Because what happens when the bank disappears? Where does your money go, right? But in this space, right, with 300 million computers approving it and making transactions, right? In order for the transaction to be hacked, or in order for something to intervene it, you have to hack every single computer, right? And that's nearly impossible. So that's the only way for it to interrupt your transaction. So going back into NFTs, right?
So that makes it safer, more secure,
Yes,
cannot be hacked
yes.
easily. Although there are claims that some people can hack it.
That is on the layer of the wallet level,
Okay.
meaning people's wallets. So these happen when people make mistakes, like getting into phishing sites or getting into different like sketchy websites, right? But in reality, that's on the surface lang eh. But if we're talking about the blockchain itself, it's nearly
It is-
unhackable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, NFTs were developed out of this blockchain technology.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So now that we've tackled, right, blockchain and cryptocurrency, now we go to NFTs, right? So NFTs function the same way like cryptocurrency. So it's also decentralized. It's also stored in the blockchain, but this time it can be in tangible forms. Meaning by tangible, like can be photos, it can be videos, it can be documents like a piece of paper, right? Because in cryptocurrency, in contrast to cryptocurrency, right? Cryptocurrency are numbers lang. It's just monetary value, right? But these NFTs are more of digital assets.
So yun nga, speaking of digital assets naman, NFTs earlier exploded in popularity. As a matter of fact, we heard of these pictures of apes, the bored apes, that have been sold for tens of millions of dollars. Bakit Ano ang pagkakaiba ng mga bored apes na yun? It's just a photo of an ape, and maybe there are some
Little
differences,
tweaks,
a
like-
little tweaks, but why are they so expensive?
They are expensive the same way cryptocurrency has value. The only time it has value is when people are willing to pay for it, right? Sa NFTs, I think the reason why Bored Ape is so prominent today and is one of the biggest projects right now is because it's a status symbol, right? It's kind of like when you buy a watch, or when you buy a sports car, or when you want to flaunt something, right? So these are called profile picture NFTs. So these function like your digital identity on social media or in the Web3 space, right? So, for example, these celebrities like Steph Curry, Jimmy Fallon, these celebrities have purchased Bored Ape Yacht Club.
And then, yeah, speaking of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, one NFT, the Bored Ape would cost around how much? 430,000 US dollars?
Around
Or
10 to 20 million pesos each.
why are they paying for it? You
Yeah.
said, I understand it's a status symbol.
symbol.
There is prestige.
Besides it being a status symbol, the prestigiousness, right? It's also because there's a community backed by it. There's a community behind that project. They organically grew that No marketing paid whatsoever. They just let people talk about it and let people want to have it, right? So, just for context, right? Bored Ape started at a very affordable price.
Like
around
as how much?
$150. And now it's worth over $200,000 to $400,000, right? So, it's kind of like supply and demand, and also a mix of fear of missing out by different people. The reason why also it's so valuable is because when people started to get into this NFT space, they already made money through cryptocurrency. So technically, most of these people can actually afford purchasing this NFT.
Pero Jello, di ba sinabi mo that Bored Ape Yacht Club, was formed by a committee. Hindi ba parang ano yun? That is where the scam started?
No, community.
Community, yes. That is where it started, and okay, it's organic, but is it not possible that this community formed a certain kind of cartel where someone from that community bought it in that very high price, so that it will create demand for people or celebrities to buy them?
Honestly, there are a lot of flaws and problems still to be solved in this space, right? So things like money manipulation, right? Like what you mentioned, like they buy a bunch down at a low price and then sell it all at a high price, and people that enter the high price get stuck there. That's a typical culture in this space, right? I wouldn't say necessarily it's a scam, but rather it's more of a culture that has its own problems din talaga. To address that, there are a lot of people right now trying to solve these problems, right? In that space alone. It's definitely a progressive industry and a progressive community.
There are also questions that say that the growth of NFTs are simply another overhyped Silicon Valley tech craze. But what remarkable tool does the NFT possess to prove that it is not just another overhyped trend?
Right, so let's talk about how stocks boomed in 1999, right? It boomed and then it crashed. But then in 2004, when the internet started to come back and all these social media companies started getting into it, right? Suddenly stocks are back up again. Why? Because the internet is such a valuable tech, right? Even if people lost a lot of money back in 1999, right now we still use the internet today. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have Twitter, right? So same thing with NFTs, right? There are people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a very big influencer in the NFT space. He does believe that 99% of these NFT projects will fail. right? But maybe 2-3 years from now, he believes that everything will, like, a lot of it will go to zero and a lot of projects will fail. But people will start recognizing the tech for what it is, for what it's worth. I would say right now what we have in the market will probably not last long, most of them, but the tech will always stay there forever.
Okay, but having said that, are some NFT projects, considered as fads aside from being a collectible digital art or asset? What else may NFTs be used for?
I would say a lot of the projects are fads, right? But the technology itself isn't, right? Because again, I do believe in the technology of NFTs, and basically what NFTs are kasi are proof of ownership, proof of accountability, and proof of just you basically owning it and no one else can duplicate that, right? This can be used in different mediums besides art, entertainment, and games. And I do believe we're slowly getting there. For example, we're working with an online school to start issuing diploma NFTs, right? So what does this solve, for example, in terms of diplomas, diba? If we have the diploma stored in the blockchain under the account of the school, right? Employers don't need to call the school anymore. Na to check, oh, did this person actually study here, right? They can easily verify that on the blockchain. And on top of that, no fraudulent diplomas can go through. So these are some of the things that NFT solve, right? And then we also have working on like land titles, deed of sales, business contracts, business documents. What does this do, right? It basically immortalizes it, right? So for example, pag nawala yung land title or deed of sale, right, the physical copy, it can still serve as, if it were stored as an NFT, it can still serve as just like the original copy, right? Of course, we're not yet there yet. We're still heavily into the games, into the entertainment, into the art scene. But I do believe that's a gateway towards that.
But you mentioned, Gelo, three things where NFTs are used now: entertainment, games,
And
art. Art. So, ano yung may potential dun sa tatlo? With your company, where are you focusing on? Games, entertainment, or art? And just as a follow-up question, if you are into any one of these, which NFTs would you want to buy? Like say for example, di ba, parang like with art, as time goes by, it becomes more expensive. It appreciates, and when even the artist gets more popular, what do you buy in NFTs? And in these three areas, which one do you see has, the greatest potential?
I do believe right now, all of these three have the biggest potential. Kasi there are also other industries trying to get involved in the NFT space. But I do believe in art. I acquire art as well in the NFT space. And also on the entertainment side. What I mean by entertainment is more of the brand NFTs. What does this mean, right? So let's say we work with a brand or a company, right? A traditional brand, for example, like a restaurant.
Okay.
And then we produce those NFTs for them, right? And then attached to these NFTs are like perks, discounts, and also like maybe an exclusive lounge exclusively for these NFT holders, right? So that's where I think the biggest adoption will come from, because even normal people who aren't in the NFT space, right? They'll be able to use that, right, in their day-to-day lives, in their day-to-day activities. So that's what our company's investing in right now.
So it's like integrating NFTs into your lifestyle. Kasi
Yes.
even if you acquire NFTs, but you don't necessarily integrate it into your everyday lifestyle, it may not be of use or of good purpose. It's that the trend or the focus that you are pushing.
Because again, in order for people to make money or in order for people to start using NFTs, we have to figure out a way to bring in more people from outside, right? And that comes from integrating it into their day-to-day activities, like you mentioned.
Talking about adoption, gaano na ba karami ang nag-appreciate ng NFTs, traders ng NFTs? Siyempre, marami tayo doon sa blockchain users or cryptocurrency users. Pero siguro mas maliit na yung mas maliit yung NFT users or buyers.
Definitely.
So what's the market like?
Yeah, I love talking about this kasi I'm really proud to say that as Filipinos, we're actually number one in terms of
Really?
NFT adoption across the entire world.
Like how many?
So, according to a survey, 32% of Filipino internet users own at least one NFT.
Wow. And what's the average cost of that NFT?
Not sure based on statistic, but from what I'm seeing, right, it's between $100 to $200, right?
What is the driving force behind that? What's the reason why we are number one NFT users ba or NFT producers or
NFT owners.
NFT owners?
Basically users, yeah.
Why is that? Why
are we number one?
Yeah, why are we number one?
Sige. So, have you heard of the game Axie Infinity?
Yes.
It's a play-to-earn game. It uses NFT tech, right? So, what happens is, if you use the NFT to play with, right, you get incentivized with tokens that can be converted into monetary value.
As in you can exchange it easily to cash. Pwede
Yes,
yun. Okay.
yes, that's right. I believe like 30+% of Axie Infinity users are Filipinos. That's why we are actually number one in terms of NFT adoption. Kasi in the leading play-to-earn game back then, right, we were also number one there too. So most of the adoption comes from people playing that game.
I see.
Yeah.
Yung NFT owners, around how many?
I believe it's about 1 million users, right?
Okay.
Kasi, just to give you context, in the cryptocurrency space naman, based on the statistic of the global leading crypto wallet, we have over 3.57 million users, or 3.9% of the population.
Wow.
Doing cryptocurrency or own at least a few cryptocurrency.
And then around, your estimate is about 1 million NFT users.
So
Pero
maybe 20%.
mga anong age ng mga yon? Kaedad ba ni Ate Jasmine ko?
18 to 35.
And then they're earning from that already.
Yes.
It's also interesting to note that we have a very young market who's using it. What's your outlook of the growth of NFTs? Sabi mo nga, tayo yung early adopters of that technology. Tingin mo ba lalaki pa? And kung tayo yung early adopters ng technology, meron ka na rin bang masasabi na influencer na matatawag sa NFT? Kasi halimbawa, yung mga malalaking projects galing sa ibang bansa, parang yung Bored Ape, di ba? Na parang they had this community. Is the Philippine market also doing that? Do we have influencers who are, or big personalities who are also buying NFT assets?
Yeah. To answer your first question, I do believe in the rise of adoption in NFTs. In the Philippines alone. Why? Kasi besides being number one, right, we have that momentum, right? I'm starting to see different companies, including ours, who are trying to take advantage of that technology, but not in the sense na it's for people to invest in, but rather for people to use in their everyday lives. Right? So when we start to see that, that's where our record in terms of NFT adoption starts to grow. exponentially, I do believe, right? And then to answer your second question, I wouldn't say influencers, and I don't want to mention any influencers that I know kasi baka they might be talking about different, baka mamaya they're talking about scams, right? So I'll be very careful about that. But I'll do mention some celebrities that are getting into the NFT space. First one is notably si Heart Evangelista. She sold NFTs as her artwork as well. She sold over 3.6 million pesos worth of NFTs. We
Do you
also
have any idea on what is it, digital art then, or is it
she
video?
It was a traditional artwork and then inanimate niya. So there's a mix between digital and traditional.
I see.
We also have our two advisors, si Sir Julius Babao and Sir Chinkitan, who's also getting into the NFT space as well. Since they're art collectors, they really believe in what Likha is trying to do, trying to onboard these artists into the space in order for them to get the proper exposure that they deserve.
Sa NFT assets, Gelo, how is the appreciation like? For example, when you buy art, diba? Parang, of course, you discipline in terms of art appreciation. But in NFT, it's like a very, very simple drawing would cost you a lot. So how do you appreciate NFT digital asset?
I think it's important to go back to the law of supply and demand, right? So in the NFT space, I think it's normal, it's pretty standard na there's a 200 to 300% appreciation. Not on every project though, kasi most again are scams. But the good ones, they can reach like even 1,000 to 10,000%. That's something that happens normally in this space. So, of course, that tells us that we're incredibly early, right? But again, it might die down eventually, and it's starting to happen now. Na you will not see 1,000 to 10,000% gains anymore as frequent as it was before. That's why I think there will be a shift. Na people will start getting tired of the typical for-profit NFTs, but instead they'll be buying these NFTs because they believe in the artist, they believe in the artist's growth, and they believe in the artwork that they purchased, right? So not necessarily investing for monetary return, but investing because you believe that this artist will grow, and in time, hopefully, the artwork appreciates.
Based on your discussions with artists, how are they taking this? Is this not a controversial space wherein somehow it lessens the value of their original artwork, the physical one? Is the artist world accepting this? And how would this NFT space benefit them?
For traditional artists, right, some of them treat NFTs as a way for it to serve as a like certificate of authenticity, right? So that's one point that I think that that's a main selling point for them. Second one is also immortalizing their artwork. So instead of let's say something happens to the painting, like it gets destroyed, it gets burned down, or it gets lost, right? If you have NFTs, right, technically you still own that original copy, right? Instead of having it all over Google, right, or all over social media, right? Because technically you don't own that. But with NFTs, since it's a concept of proof of ownership, right, even if the physical copy gets lost, you can still own a part of that originality of that artwork.
So parang additional income mo na rin yun, or
In a
additional
sense,
asset.
yes.
So you have
in a
the
sense.
original and then you put it in the NFT space, so that's another artwork for you and probably
right.
another income for you.
Yes, kasi it then gets split into two, right? You can keep the artwork and then sell the digital version of it.
What if someone vandalizes it? Okay, you have an original artwork, and then I'll put it sa NFT space, but I just tweak a little part of it, and then it is mine, and then I sell it as an NFT owner. Is that not somehow copyright violation?
Yeah, of course it's a copyright violation, right? But again, no matter who uploads it into the NFT space, right, or no matter who vandalizes it, that's still not the original copy, right? And the advantage for that as an artist, right, is people will know where that NFT comes from, right? So if the artist says, this is the only NFT I uploaded, this is the only original artwork, technically, right, this is the only original copy in the entire space.
I like how you deal with the artists, how you give them space, how you give them opportunities to go into the NFT space. With the Bayani Chain firm that you are espousing, what projects is your company doing to promote entrepreneurship and provide opportunities also for digital artists to use this technology?
Yeah, so the first thing is we're building a company called Likha. So Likha is an NFT marketplace, a localized and curated one for the Filipino artists. Because if they upload it internationally, right, or in an international NFT marketplace, it gets too crowded. They compete with the international artists, they compete with yung sinasabi mong generative art like Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? So the chances of them getting discovered there is very, very difficult.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is we're creating a safe space for them where they can really like showcase their artwork, and we are more gallery centric versus analytic centric.
Which means?
Which means that we merely focus on the artwork itself. We don't focus on the numbers, on how many sales it has, on like projected.
But if someone
prices.
buys it, it buys to your website and it goes to them, or they can directly contact the owner of that NFT.
It can be both, right? Typically, you'd have to purchase on the website, but if you want to personally contact the owner and say, oh, I want to purchase this, they can purchase it directly to them, and then the artist will send the NFT to them.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And then on the other hand, we're also creating the digital physical chain. So it's a solution wherein, let's say, an NFT asset turned into digital. But technically, the physical asset is still connected onto the blockchain. So that's something that we're developing. And vice versa, let's say you have a traditional artwork, how exactly will you be able to get the COA? Kasi right now, COAs today, it's merely a piece of paper.
COA is Certificate
of authenticity. Sorry. Yeah. So this can be easily forged, tampered. It can also be faked. It's very prominent, especially here in the Philippines. So one of our goals is to store that COA onto the blockchain and connect that with the artwork. So that's something that my CTO, Paul Soliman, is developing. Yeah, that's what basically Bayani Chain does.
And who can engage in NFTs? There are reports that 12-year-olds, 19-year-olds like you can engage in it. So what will they do, and what skills would they have to be able to enter the NFT space?
Right now, the user interface and yung parang the process of uploading an NFT can get complicated, especially for younger people, right? So part of our mission is to make that easy for them, right? So basically, any people of any age can come. So for example, we have a project that we're working with. It's called Humanity. It ranges between, I believe, 7 to 12 years old na artworks of kids who are blind, who are deaf, mga kids with special needs, right? And I do believe that NFTs can empower them to really show their craft and show their creativity to the world, right? So those little things, right? Different companies, not just mine, are trying to solve through education. Educating the youth, educating not only Metro Manila, but regional provinces like Baguio, like the one that I just went to, Baguio, Pampanga, Laguna, different places across the Philippines. And with that, it contributes really to the adoption of NFTs today.
And that's a great thing. So now, what's your outlook of the NFT space? What's the future? I know that it goes with the blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and also mass adoption. What do you think are the factors that could really result to a bigger or faster mass adoption of this technology?
Yeah, so my outlook for it is on the monetary side or the for-profit side. I think it's going to be slower. It's not going to be something na every day may 1,000% gain ang isang project, because that's what happened a few years back, like during the pandemic. But today, what we're seeing now is we're seeing more builders than investors. Builders who are focusing on taking advantage of this NFT technology, right? So in terms of mass adoption, I think that's one of the goals of many companies, just like mine. This means having to integrate this with different mediums besides, like I mentioned, art, entertainment, and games, right? This means that we can start doing transactions like, for example, you want a property in, let's say, BGC, right? With NFTs, it can be as easy as paying the person, then transferring the land title and deed of sale through NFTs. Because they already do that in Argentina, right? The only concern is really the government regulations, yung mga licenses to operate that. But nonetheless, I think we're slowly getting to that point. And
do you see the same challenges here in the Philippines?
Yes. That's the challenges we face today, right? Kasi there's no black and white law to explain parang the do's and don'ts of crypto, right? Right now, we're in a gray area pa din. But once we get that government approval and government support to conduct these shifts to the NFT technology space, right? I think we'll start seeing the mass adoption there. And thankfully, the Philippine government is very, very supportive. Why? Because they've started mga trainings sa DOST for blockchain technology. DICT is very, very supportive. Every week they have talks in regards to crypto and NFTs, and they also welcome different crypto companies from internationally to the Philippines. So, for example, in the Philippines alone, we have over 48 approved crypto exchanges. That's a lot, right? There's di ka na mauubusan ng exchanges niyan or options, right? So thankfully, the government is open to these adoptions, right? And more than that talaga, this will really help the Philippines in terms of our current economic state. Kasi when they start seeing that NFTs is number one here in the Philippines, right? People globally are watching us, right? And eventually we'll be able to get their support. We'll be able to get their, really their appreciation and their, resources as well, right? As long as we unite as one front to really push for mass adoption here in the Philippines.
No, that's great to know. Now, you have a food business, but you said earlier you wanted to focus on NFT. Is this because this is your passion, or do you think it's more profitable, or do you think you can do more, as you mentioned, with the many other uses of NFTs?
I really do think a part of it also is really we're in another tech boom, right? So we had that back in '99, then we had that in 2004. So that's Web 1.0, then Web 2.0, and now we're experiencing Web 3.0, and we're experiencing a very, very big shift as we speak, right? So, of course, besides that, right, it's also a passion of mine. There are many, many ways to make money in the NFT space. For example, producing a collection like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and then, it can be as easy as that, right? But I decided to choose the path of really supporting artists, local artists here in the Philippines. And I do believe I'll be incentivized for that later on. It's definitely a long process, a very tedious one. Yung tipong you really have to go to these different regions, these different provinces, so that they really understand what NFTs can do for them. So it's a lot of work, especially from here on out. I do believe it's gonna take us at least 2 years to start seeing that big adoption, right? But I do believe it's something very fulfilling, especially for me and my different partners, sila Paul, Nico, Raf, Vandy, Alex. And yeah, and ultimately, this is all because this is all for God talaga, right? I do feel na He really gave me this opportunity in order to help different Filipinos across nationwide.
But are you also getting foreign funding?
Yeah, we're looking into that very, very soon. Right
But now it's
all local right now.
all local.
Yeah.
Before we end this conversation with Gelo, which is a very interesting conversation because here is a 19-year-old talking like 40. Let's go to this lightning round. Either you like it or you dislike it, and if you want to explain it, explain it. The first one is Web 3.0.
Like, because again, this is where cryptocurrency NFTs lie within, and this is where we're heading towards to.
Dogecoin.
Dislike.
Why?
Because it's one of the tokens that has no intrinsic value besides it being an opportunity for richer people to pump and dump it.
Pyramid scheme.
Dislike. Common misconception and often correlated to crypto, but in reality, it's not the way it is with the tech.
2022.
Because we're starting to see more Web3 presence. We have events every week, 4 times a week, and we also have newer companies and newer founders getting into the space.
Bored Apes Yacht Club.
I like it. Of course, it's one of the Genesis, the first collections to really ever succeed. It's also empowering to many and life-changing to many individuals.
Gozali every day.
Because it changed his life, and honestly, I'm happy for him, right? That's what NFTs can do.
Selfie NFTs.
Dislike, because no one can ever do it again.
Solana.
Solana, pwede bang ganyan?
Okay.
I'm
Why?
neutral. I don't want to also give any financial advice, but I do have a lot of friends in that space. I personally, not so much. So,
Metaverse.
Metaverse, it's part of the Web3 community. It's what kept us together during the pandemic, and it's what helped people, survive during COVID-19.
And Twitter.
Twitter, it's our platform to really talk about Web3 stuff, so NFTs, crypto, and everything. So, yeah.
Okay, before we finally end this conversation, maybe you can address the viewers, the 19-year-olds who has the passion like yours, and how can they really open their businesses also, and for entrepreneurs who want to really invest also in the digital space.
Yeah, so many people and many Filipinos commonly think that, crypto is easy money. But in reality, it's not. So for those that want to get into this space and really pursue trying to make this world and the Web3 community a better place, I highly encourage you guys to really focus on your craft, on what you're trying to build, and just really don't distract yourself with the different opportunities supposedly in this space, right? But instead, focus on what you're trying to build and really make sure that you do it best, right? And you do it with full integrity, full honesty, and be that one person out of 100 who is willing to really contribute more than extort in this space. So shout out to all my co-founders, some of our partner companies, Bitsquela, Tetrix, and also, you know, everyone else in the space. Thank you for your support as well for Leka, and thank you to all of our artists. So
that's the CEO of Bayani Chain, Gelo Wong, open for business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Kung kayo ay may sumbong o reklamo na gusto po ninyong paaksyonan sa inyong lugar, problema na nais niyo pong masolusyonan, mag-text sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com. Pwede rin kayong magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at Net25TV. Hintayin po namin ang inyong mensahe para agad na marespondihan. Mapapanood nyo kami sa mga sumusunod na mga channels. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Welcome back to Open for Business. I am Randy Bernardino, and here are the trending business news around the world. Peso weakens to 53 to $1. The Philippine peso has reached its weakest level in 3.5 years, breaching 53 pesos to $1. Experts weigh in on the different reasons why the peso has fallen so low. Michael Ricafort, chief economist of Rizal Commercial Banking Corp., attributes the slump to the decline in the local stock market. Dominique Velasquez from China Banking Corp opines that changes in interest rates by the U.S. Federal Reserve are affecting market participants. And Nicolas Antonio Mapa from ING Bank Manila says the peso is simply following the trend among regional currencies. Whatever the reason, the downward trend continues, with expectations that the peso may breach 54 pesos by next week. Australia hikes minimum wage as inflation soars. Australia raised the minimum wage by over 5%, a slower than inflation increase as prices for basic goods soar. The Fair Work Commission set the new minimum rate at 21.38 Australian dollars an hour, a 5.2% increase. Inflation is forecast to hit 7% by the end of the year, according to Central Bank Governor Philip Lowe. Food, fuel, and other costs have been pushed higher by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, supply chain problems from COVID lockdowns in China, and floods on Australia's east coast. At the same time, wage growth has been stalled in Australia for years, despite ultra-low unemployment of 3.9% and many businesses struggling to find staff. U.S. gas price hits a record $5 a gallon. The average price of premium gasoline at the pump has surpassed $5 a gallon for the first time in the United States, the American Automobile Association reported. That record level comes on top of months of soaring inflation. The increase in gas prices follows a steady rise in oil prices, which had plummeted in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic as demand sagged, but have risen again as world economic activity resumes. Oil prices soared further after Moscow invaded Ukraine in late February, and as international sanctions against Russia, a major petroleum producer, began to bite. And now on to our Tech Buzz, where we find out the latest trends in technology. Today we learn, what is the Internet Computer Protocol? Like a lot of projects in the cryptocurrency space, the Internet Computer Protocol, or ICP, is much more than a form of digital money. ICP is a set of protocols that allow independent data centers around the world to band together and offer a decentralized alternative to the current centralized internet cloud providers. The ICP token is used for governance. Holders can vote on the future of the network, to reward network participants for good behavior, and is used to pay fees for making transactions. Now on to today's job hunting tip. Every week, we will provide you with tips for first-time job seekers, for those wanting to advance in their careers, or even those wanting to start fresh and change professions. Today's tip: make yourself match fit. Most people know that one CV and one cover letter will not do at all in this day and age. Tailoring your CV has never been more important. Many organizations now use applicant tracking systems, which means that when you submit your CV, tailored software picks out keywords that relate to the job advert. Review your CV and make sure that it highlights all the essential points listed in the job specifications. Yes, this does mean tailoring your CV and cover letter for every job. It may mean changing the format of your CV to give you a better chance of success. Now on to our millennial feature with Jasmine Agustin.
Smartphones have become a necessary part of everyday life. It is no wonder that money is starting to follow suit in the digital era. The world is moving toward the digital wallet, which allows customers to conduct quick and secure computerized commercial transactions. It functions similarly to a traditional wallet. From cash to digital, e-money has been increasingly popular in the Philippines over the years. The implementation of digital payments has accelerated since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, millennials, it is now time to know what are the benefits of electronic wallets. First, it has the potential to help you save time. By holding your phone over the payment terminal and validating the purchase, you can pay instantly using a mobile wallet. The majority of transactions are completed in a matter of seconds. Second, it is, believe it or not, more secure and safer. Digital wallets, unlike traditional wallets, cannot be stolen or lost. The information in the wallet is protected by encryption. Third, most merchants and internet stores accept it. You can pay using your electronic wallet at most stores that accept cards as a payment method. Mobile wallets are growing in popularity, but there is still room for improvement and a substantial barrier to overcome. Consumers continue to be wary of digital currency and prefer cash. If such solutions are complemented by a strong and inclusive digital payment ecosystem, moving from cash-based to digital wage payments is a win-win for both workers and small businesses. This shift in consciousness has been accelerated by the COVID-19 outbreak. To ensure widespread adoption and use of digital payments, it is critical to leverage on this momentum. I am Jasmine Agustin for Open for Business.
Umanda ka!
Isang sugat mula noon. Nababakas hanggang ngayon. Handog ng Net25, ang Korean novela na magbibigay pag-asa na maghihilom anumang sugat at ang araw ay muling sisikat. A Place in the Sun, simulan June 27, alas 8 ng gabi, dito lang sa Net25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together, let's stand together sa Net25.
Open for Business is back, and the buzzword of the week is crypto asset management. It is the practice of purchasing and selling digital assets to be used as investments while managing a portfolio to experience an overall growth in value. NFT allows you to express yourself online. They are easily recognizable tokens which can be associated with anything, even art, as they have a market worth that is mostly dictated by supply and demand, and they can be purchased and sold just like any other physical piece of art. Despite the major concerns in the global economy, forecasts show the NFT market will march forward, providing confidence to digital investors that include a range of celebrities, athletes, and business leaders. And with that, our quote of the week is from NFT Calendar. It says, "Own a piece of history in a new digital world." Maraming salamat sa inyong panonood ng Open for Business. Thank you to our guest, Mr. Gelo Wong. Samahan ninyo kaming muli sa Open for Business sa susunod na linggo. Learn more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines, keeping you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. Panoorin din ang programang OFB sa Facebook at YouTube. Mag-like at mag-subscribe sa aming social media at Net25 TV. Para sa Open for Business, ako po si Cesar Vallejos.